100%. That's what a part of your that blues potion and all that kind of stuff.
Okay. I gotta talk to Matt and Jag.
What's up? What's up? Let me see if I can get the Earl sign correct. There we go. Let's see, we can even point it a little bit more that way. I mean, you know, it's not the coolest. Me and Earl, Dominic Sen. And then, well, hopefully we'll get a few more. I'm trying to be more proficient on YouTube and just get my 4,000 hours so I can start charging people to ask me questions. No, I'm just kidding. What I really need is a hand. This is the gift my friend Jordan got me. It's from the wrestler Mark Henry. That says, "Dear Earl, I am not the father. You have to be a real old school wrestling fan." I'm just kidding. We all love Becky. I love her too. But it's a little discouraging to have one person listening. But I'm a man of the glass is half full. There could be no person listening. Yeah, I mean, I grew up, I'm 55, so, at the end of the day, here we go. If I scoot a little bit back, it's better. I grew up watching NWA, World Class Championship Wrestling. I watched wrestling when the Ultimate Warrior was the Dingo Warrior. Well, this is pretty good. And Adidas is not sponsoring this podcast. I should take this off, but I'll give them a plug. I don't get any free shit from anybody. I'll give the place who gave my neon sign, Radical Neon. That's with a K. Radical with a K. On Melrose Avenue. I paid $492 for that. Thank you. Hey, bots, Dominic, you have free lifetime tickets to any stand-up comedy show I'm a part of. And I mean that. I'm loyal to a core. And it's probably not the best time to do a live 10 p.m. But, I'm navigating and just trying to, I'm a good man, but I'm not very good at social media. I have a fair amount of followers on Twitter and Instagram. Not very many on TikTok. But, what are you going to do? You just have to keep plugging away. And let me see, this might be, maybe turn the light a little bit down. A little bit, let's see here. Well, that's too much. Or is that too much? Let me know if that's too much. If not, I can tone it down. I do like it though. So my hope is And this will be the background of my stand-up comedy special. Let me see here. You need Melton on. He has become quite the fan favorite these days. Well, here's the thing. I want to try and keep this streaming Dabbleverse free. What up? What up? Thank you for joining. Thank you for joining in. Because I'm a guest on all the Dabbleverse podcasts. I call into Melton's. I've never been a guest per se. I've been on MLC the most. Well, actually, I've been on Chad's stuff the most, the football podcast, and we did the Bad Guys, and I've never been on Steel Toe, and I've been on Insufferable Bastards. I've been on Total BS. Been on Ray's show, but hey, 2 people and 1 like. Maybe that should be the name of my special. 2 people and 1 like. And nothing against the Dabbleverse. I just don't. I'm kind of boring in the Dabbleverse because I don't really talk shit about people unless they talk poorly about me. So, in the Dabbleverse, and it's crazy for me to say this, but if you're well liked, it works against you in the Dabbleverse. Sounds insane, right? Like, being liked is not an admirable quality, but it's just who I am. I'm like Patrick Swayze in Roadhouse. I'm nice till you give me a reason to not be nice. What up? What up? Hold on. I'm still new at this. I'm a one-man operation here. So, hey, William Zoom, maybe my #1 fan on YouTube, along with Dominic Sim. I don't have a lot of fans, but I do have a small but mighty fan base. So I appreciate that. Next week, I'm not rebooting, but Inappropriate Earl will be back. My first guest on the reboot is the NHL player Aaron Volpatti, who wrote this book, Fighter. It's about his horrifying journey after a burn injury where he was told that he would never play hockey again. And he fought through all odds and played 114 games in the NHL. And now is a very on the rise motivational speaker. I was trying to find the right word for it. So it's not really a hockey book. I think you would get value in reading it because it's really a book about life with hockey as the background. And probably the first 50 to 60 pages. Yes, isn't that the best? Thank you. I started looking back at some of my podcast appearances on many different podcasts, and my background is just my kitchen. So I thought, this is pretty different. It's still not the greatest background, but it's pretty cool. And I'm working at, upstairs is my memorabilia collection. I must say it might be the best idea I've ever had. Because I was like, what background could be done for relatively low cost? Yeah, I do. And you could play with it a little bit in terms of the brightness. But my memorabilia room, if certain things go right, will be my podcast. I wouldn't say studio, but room, and I'll have a more traditional. I like rat, which is why I did the sign in the rat font. I just wish those guys liked each other a little more. The classic lineup, they basically can't stand each other. Multiple lawsuits and whatnot, so it's kind of a bummer. But, you know, I have to, let me see here, how many jerseys have you sold so far? A couple hundred, to be honest with you, but there's still a couple hundred left, so I'm in negotiations right now. And yes, Mickey Rat when they were in San Diego, and then I think there was a cartoon character, what up, that they had to change the name, and they just, Stephen Piercy, who I hope will come on the podcast sooner than later for a third time. He will come back for more. We'll talk. It's been a minute. He's living in Vegas now. I was just in Vegas last week for the Steelers game, which was fun. And then my cousin, as many of you know, RFK Jr., he has told me he will come on my podcast. Problem is, he gets literally 1,000 interview requests a week, and he's only in LA, I think, every 6 weeks. So I'm excited about that, though. That could be if I could get him to say a good quote, that could be not the episode that breaks me, but could be the episode that gets me a little notice. Because I will tape it. I trust myself to tape it, but I'm going to my friend Ari Manis's studio. Ari is the one who. Well, thank you, William. I'll relay that to him. Ari is the one who helped me start Inappropriate Earl. He was my tech man until I figured it out. So he has a podcast studio right at the street from me, so it should be cool. And then I'm gonna get back to interviewing hockey players and whatnot. Yes, it is a family affair, but I'll take it. That is something. Well, I think I've only met him twice, to be honest with you. And that was, unfortunately, both times were at my parents' funerals. So, it wasn't the best situation. But he's such a good politician. He made everyone at both funerals feel like we'd known him for 50 years. So I do think he can relate to the public. Certainly better than Trump or Biden, but he's got to get on the debate stage, which the Democratic Party, I don't think they want him there. And if he runs as an independent, that's going to be tough because your chances of getting in front of a large group of people at any one time are severely limited in this two-party system we have. But we'll see. He's a very, very smart man. And if he can get on a few more shows like Rogan, not that there's any other shows that compare to Rogan's, but, maybe if he goes back on Rogan, Adam Carolla, he could get his message out. Well, it's just hard. Look at Ross Perot. He was treated like a bastard child. But he made a mark on the election, He definitely took some votes away from the Democrats. So, it's probably going to be Biden. it's really too. Not that I wanted to talk about politics tonight, but you've got two. I mean, the thing is, Trump's only 3 years younger than Biden, so it's not like he's a teenager. But I think the thing with Trump is, and he's an awful person, but he seems pretty. He seems a lot more coherent than Biden. Harris, I don't think could win. I mean, she just doesn't. She hasn't done enough. So I think that it will be interesting to see what happens. And what if Trump wins the election, but he's got numerous indictments? I mean, I think it's 91 or 94 felony charges. I mean, if it was like 5, you could say, well, he could beat those. But Jesus, 90 in the 90s, they're gonna get you. So, but if he wins, I don't know if he can pardon himself, but if he can, he will. I'm sure he's already looked into it. So, and there's really, I mean, he's winning by like 40, 50 points. I mean, it's a big deal tonight. I think all 3 of the news networks were like, oh my God, Nikki Haley's now in second place. But she's still like 40 points behind him. So it's really, okay, see, I wasn't sure on that, William. But, and then I saw, and it was probably just a wild political rumor. I did know, I used to play hockey, switching from political talk for 2 seconds. Well, let me finish. Someone, it's probably on Fox News, was throwing it out there that Trump could be speaker. Can you imagine that? Oh my God, I'd rather have him as president. Because speaker's where the real power is. In terms of, did I know anyone from those bands? I actually did. I used to play hockey Sunday nights at the Culver City Ice Rink. It's the old beat up rink where the Kings in the 80s used to practice. And I played hockey with Rocky George, who was the black guitar player. I don't think he was the original guitar player, but he came in, and there's a little bit of controversy when he came in. And gave the band a little more funk, like a little more Hendrix vibe, whereas the guitar player before him, I think, was more thrash metal, Megadeth and early Metallica. So some of the OG fans were like, we don't like this guy, but I think he's still with him, maybe. I mean, they don't really tour a lot. They're like the Tubes. The Tubes are still together, minus the 2 deceased members. Not Roger Steen, but Rick Anderson, who just passed away a couple months ago, the bass player, and of course Vince Welnick, who was the OG, one of the OG keyboard players. No, I think the rhythm guitar player, I want to say his name is William Spooner. He doesn't play in the band, and the other keyboard player does other things, but they tour like maybe 10 times a year. I think Suicidal Tendencies does that as well. And I believe Rocky is still with them. But, I think he was famous or infamous for missing the tip of one of his fingers. And he's still a very, very accomplished guitar player. I remember he was the first guy to tell me about Guns N' Roses. He's like, oh man, this is probably right after Appetite for Destruction came out, but it wasn't a hit right away. And he said, oh man, this album's going to be amazing. And I was trying to tell him about Britney Fox. Like, what? Get out of here. But those were I was a pretty poor hockey player, to be frank, but I had a lot of fun times at that rink on Sunday nights, because I was probably the youngest guy playing hockey by at least 10 to 15 years. and it was just the most ragtag group of guys you could ever imagine. And like one of the other guys was OJ's mailman, and Bruce Thomas. Shout out to Bruce Thomas. And then I think one guy was in the Hells Angels, but he played hockey. And then a lot of like wannabe actors, but they were a good group of guys. One minor league guy who was like a tough guy, so he'd like challenge people to fight, and I was like, dude, what are you doing? No, that was in Garden Grove where the cop choked me out. That was playing ball hockey. But this was ice skating, ice hockey, and we basically broke into the rink every Sunday night, and Bruce somehow would get the music playing, and we just play for a few hours till about, I don't know, 1:30, 2 in the morning, and then we all go to Johnny Pastrami's. I don't know if it's still there, but it was like a late night food place, and I think my parents had just moved to Miami because it's around 1988, so I was a little lost, and I just kind of really started hitting my stride with women. So I was living on my own for the first time, but this was a great social event for me every Sunday night. One time I slashed this person. They were wearing a full shield, and I didn't know it was a girl, so that her whole team wanted to kill me. And I wasn't very good on skates, to be honest with you. So, never. I mean, I was okay at ice hockey because for whatever reason I had good balance, but I still to this day can't stop. But, I enjoyed playing. It was fun. And it was more socially beneficial for me because it was really my first time being around people much older than me. And, they like light up joints. And I didn't skateboard, but my brothers did. My brothers, both of them a little older than me, both of them could have been pro surfers. And both of them were very good at skateboarders. My brother Andrew, skateboarding. My brother Andrew just showed his level of competency. If you follow skateboarding, he skated all the time with Christian Hosoi. What up? What up? Oh shit, Dr. Chow. We got our first celebrity in the room, the great Dr. Chow, in the house. I'm trying to get some decent numbers, Dr. Chow. Right now I've got 3 people watching. But I'll take it. It's my first stream in a while, and I'm going to play around with the times I do it. It's funny, I did a TikTok live earlier around 4:30 LA time. And I think I had like maybe 15 people at the max. And then the other night I did it at 3 a.m. my time, and I had like 255 people. Yeah, I know. I mean, I didn't expect to have like Kevin Brennan type numbers at 10 p.m. But, I'm just playing around with it. Yeah, I mean, my brother, though, he wasn't as good as Christian Hosoi or Tony Hawk, but he was good enough to hang with them. So, I've been on Little Mir and Dr. Chow's podcast. It was fun. Some playful arguing or whatever. I would go back again. I enjoy the Dabbleverse, but I enjoy my my not anonymity, but I keep a distance because and that's the roast battle side of me is. I watched a little bit today, Dr. Chow, with Carl from Who Are These Podcasts, he's the only person I've never spoken with. Um, yes, I don't know Dalton or Carl, but I listen to Carl from time to time. I go through. I mean, I definitely listen to Kevin the most because I think he's the funniest out of everyone in the Dabbleverse, and I always listen when Chad is on because I think they have great chemistry. I don't know how you get on that. I haven't been to Amoeba Records since the old location, which is great because you could literally be there buying a Tubes CD and you look up and there's the singer from the Tubes. I think Ski Mask is hit or miss with Kevin. I think sometimes Ski Mask seems like he's too relaxed sometimes, and Kevin doesn't like that. Kevin likes you to talk and participate, and I don't think he like Stevie Lou was good today on Ski Mask. I don't watch those ones. I don't find them very interesting, the ones with the psychiatrist. But I really like the ones with Kevin and Chad. I mean, that one and the Quadfather. He was pretty funny yesterday. I don't know his story other than his physical condition. But I think with and here's the crazy thing. When that started yesterday, Chad and the Quadfather were going against each other, but you could tell they had good chemistry. Now, I'm not saying they should do a podcast together, but I think they should be a panel together. I mean, I get along with Chad. And, to be honest with you, like, I didn't want to talk about the Dabbleverse because I'm trying to keep this, as Dabbleverse free as possible. But it's almost impossible to avoid. Chad drives if you notice when Chad's not in the news, so to speak, I think a lot of the Dabbleverse World podcasts struggle because he provides good content because he fights back. And I think that the problem that I see with the Dabbleverse, and it's not really talking about anyone in particular, but it's kind of like the tech stock market bubble. It's going to burst soon. And I think it's kind of already burst. Like, no shade or heat. I mean, I disagree, Dr. Chow. I just don't think he's funny enough. I think he was on the episode that I did with you guys. And, he seems like a fan who's trying to get involved. And that's never a good thing. I disagree. But I'm not saying I'm right or wrong. I mean, Bob Levy kept telling me that Perry is going to be huge, and I couldn't disagree any more than I do. And I love Bob. But, I've known Perry for 20 years, and his shtick gets really old. Yeah, but I just don't think he's interesting enough. And I don't know him, so I think, when you look at the Dabbleverse, there's a lot of very competent people. You've got Kevin Brennan, who, HBO specials. Bob Levy's been a comic for 30 years. Shuli's been a comic for 30 years. I've been a comic for, even though I'm not as into the Dabbleverse as those guys, I've been a stand-up for a very long time. Chad's been a stand-up for a very long time. Carl's very good at what he does. Steel Toe, whether you like them or not, they make you react. You Little Mirror have carved out a good niche in this world. So, I think Joey and Patrick Melton he was like the OG of podcasts. So, Yes, Brian Holtzman does rule. I mean, Melton's probably the best at, Melton will do 24-hour shows. That's insane. I mean, I've been doing this for a half hour and I'm not necessarily running out of steam, but like, well, I don't know who the biggest guy is, so you tell me. Um, but I could be wrong. I mean, Stuttering John. Listen, I've done one show with him, and I just think that he's, he, at least the roasting of Stuttering John, it's gotten old. And that's not a knock on Shuley or Mike Morris or Bob Levy. We get it. He drinks and he stutters. He doesn't have a lot of attack angles. And, I think between Carl and Shuley, there's just not a lot to hit. It's already been hit multiple times. The same thing with Chad, there's 3 or 4 things you can hit him on, and that's about it. And it's been a year or two, and I don't see any new characters on the horizon. I guess is my point. I disagree with you, Dr. Chow, respectfully. I don't see a future Chad or a future Stuttering John. I don't think he is. I just don't. You can't be a fan and jump into the ring with all these established comics. And Steel Toe's been at this a while, so it's. But we'll see. I don't think he's a big star in terms of the dabble world. Carlos Danger, he's another one. Very seasoned podcaster, and Total BS show. I know I'm probably leaving out someone, and it's not intentionally. Gino is another, established comic, and obviously Opie and Anthony. I mean, they're not really in the Dabbleverse world, but. They're obviously probably the second greatest radio show of all time behind Stern. So I think in regards to Joey C, it's just he might not have the tools to long term to hang. But we'll see. I mean, I don't know enough about him. But, his character seems to be the angry guy, which, could work. I mean, but I don't know if there's enough funny behind it to, it's funny, all these characters in our world. No, you don't have to, Dr. Chow. I've seen enough to make I'll be honest with you, I don't mean this in a rude way towards you. I probably wouldn't watch them just because I'm too busy doing stand-up and all that shit. I've seen enough to make my judgment. And he's never made me laugh once. I don't want you, I'm being honest with you. That, if I was a phony baloney, yeah, send me, I'll watch him, and I never would watch him. Like, I've seen enough of you to know this guy's funny. Like, not maybe necessarily in a stand-up way, but you're very good at, like, you're a good host. Like, and because of your, your appearance, like, the shades and the delivery, almost like a Malcolm McDowell from Clockwork Orange, you're engaging. And Little Mirrors, you guys are a good team. So I think that, I don't know what your comedy background, if any, is, but like, I started watching your stream today because of you. Because, you've got that, just stoner 70s vibe. And, Carl's engaging. he obviously. Hello, Gina Babina. But he's good at what he does. I mean, I probably listen to her these podcasts the least, not because I don't like them, but just I think you got to pick your shows, and yeah, I mean, he that's probably the best word to say. He's a pro. Like he knows how to market his podcast and his Patreon, and I'm trying. I mean, I'm not going to lie. I'm a little puzzled why my Patreon doesn't do better. But because I think if you go on my Patreon, and I'm not saying the people listening now, but it's a lot of content. But in regards to Chad and Carl, I know they both say they don't like each other and whatnot, but they know deep down they're good for each other. Oh no, I mean, but like I think Kevin is Kevin and Carl and many others. I think the more you stream, the more people. I'll pay this guy $5 or whatever. And Chad, I think I have 14 Patreon subscribers. That's horrible. But at least I, admit it. There would be some people in the Dow world would be like, "Fuck you guys, man." But that's what I learned from roasting. If you laugh at your weakness, which some of my social media is, it just needs to be improved. People can't really roast you on it if you're honest about it. Like I have a decent Instagram, I have a decent Twitter. Yeah, I mean, but Chad provides a lot of content. Kevin provides a lot of content. Tim Dillon is always, that's like the Wayne Gretzky of Patreon, but like, I'm happy with the content that I provide, and I think I just have to somehow market it better. But I also, like my Patreon, like Kevin Brennan makes a lot of money on Patreon and YouTube. Melton does as well. Carl does. Obviously Tim Dillon, that guy with the beard, Brian Johnson. But I'm lucky enough to make good money. Yeah. Well, I mean, yeah, I think I'm very good with improv, but I also, like reading chats and questions, I think is my strong point. But, I do very well in the voiceover world, so that's right now my Patreon and YouTube money, which is, I get asked a lot, or not a lot, but a fair amount, why don't you do the road more? And it's like, because I don't have to, I'll leave you guys with this. No, not that anyone's asking, but, because I think some people assume, oh, you don't do the road because you're lazy. I was just offered a gig, a month ago, East Coast gig, 7 shows, $5,000. 1,000 of that was for airfare. So it's really 7 shows, $4,000, and they pay you $1,000 for your airfare. So here's how I break it down. Now I live in West Hollywood. To get to the airport from where I live is about an hour. You got to get there 2 hours earlier. So the plane ride to where this gig was 4.5 hours, 5.5 hours back. That's 10 hours plus the 3 hours at LAX, hour drive, 2 hours there, 13 hours. And then you do the 7 shows. Now, when I headline, I'll typically do an hour, maybe a little over an hour if I'm doing well, which usually I am. I'm not saying I'm killing, but so that's another 7 to 8 hours. Let's say 8 hours. Because I'll typically do about an hour and 10, hour and 15 minutes. If I'm doing well. So some shows are going to be better than others, so you adjust. So that's 8 hours plus, the 10 hours being in the plane. That's 18 hours. The 3 hours LAX and the drive there. That's 21 hours. Now it's a smaller airport where I'd be flying out to go back home. This is probably a half-hour drive and an hour there. So you're basically, you know, you got to do morning radio and all that stuff. So you're basically 24 hours of work for $5,000. Now, right before the strike, I did a whole season of a television, a cartoon, where I was one of the leads. It's coming out as soon as the strike is over, which I hear is sooner than later. And I got paid $4,850. Do you want to know where I recorded it? Right here. Now I'll do this. This probably won't be the best angle, but that is a Neumann microphone. And that is the mixing board and all that good stuff. And to record a whole season of a streaming show took about 2.5 hours. So I made essentially the same amount. Well, the actors are still on strike. The writer's strike is over. So I made essentially the same amount of money in 2.5 hours than traveling to the other end of the country 24 hours. So that's why I don't do the road as much. And frankly, until I become a bigger name, and you know, you never know if that's going to happen, that's about what I would get paid, you know, to headline a club, $5,000 for the weekend. Now, if it's San Diego, that's a great gig because that's 2 hours drive, 2.5 hours drive, 2.5 hours back. But you know, that's why, you know, I'm sure Kevin doesn't. I can't speak for him, but that's probably why he doesn't do the road as much. He makes, according to Melton, $30,000 a month with Patreon and Super Chat money. Why the hell would you, if you're Kevin, say, fly to Arizona or Oregon or wherever, when you can just, I don't know where he does his show in his living room or wherever, but you know, so you know, that's hopefully an insight into the life of a stand-up comic on the road. Now, if you're Matt Rife and you're playing theaters and shit and making $100,000 a night, I'll get on an airplane for that. But you know, I don't have to worry about that kind of a paycheck just yet. But you know, if this cartoon is a big hit, and you know, you don't need a lot for a cartoon to be a success, because the viewership for cartoons is already low. So you don't really need well, but Kevin puts the work in, so does Carl. I mean, you know, and like it or not, Steel Toe, I would not open for anyone. You know, I'm at the point now where, you know, being 55 years old, if you're still opening, it's not a good look. Which is another, you know, I pass up on a lot of gigs opening up for people because I don't want, I'm a headliner. Like, I'm not a known headliner, but, you know, I can do an hour in my sleep and it's pretty good. So, well, I can't tell you right now because I can tell you after the strike. Well, yeah, I mean, but some people love being opening act because there's very little pressure on you. They're all there to see the other comic. You know, like when I was opening up for Rob Schneider for 4 years, you know, we'd play theaters all sold out. There's 1,000 people, you know, give or take. Like we did the Wells Fargo Center, and I think it was like 800 people. And not one person's there to see me. Even my girlfriend at the time was there to see Rob. So, you know, there's really no pressure because you can kill, you can bomb. People don't care. They want to see Rob. And I usually did pretty well. I did better in Canada because I cheated with hockey jokes. I mean, one time in Calgary, I was killing, and I rarely kill. I usually do well, but I don't like Joey Diaz kills. Um, and he treated me very well, Dr. Chow. I love him. Um, like Joey Diaz kills, but in Calgary, I was just doing inside hockey jokes, dropping like Jerome McGinley zingers, who he was probably the greatest Calgary Flame of all time, and hockey or Canada's great because like Edmonton, they have a comedy club and it's awesome, House of Comedy. No, it's called Comic Strip. I'm sorry. Their other clubs are called House of Comedy, and but I just don't want to open for people anymore. Like I don't want to be the Cheap Trick of comics. Like Cheap Trick is like they're a great band, but they should be bigger. But I think, after their initial run in the '70s, they were just kind of content opening up for Kiss and Aerosmith, and really every band you've seen, Cheap Trick is open for them. So, I'd rather stay home, to be honest with you. I mean, if the money's like ridiculous, I'd probably do it, but the money's usually not ridiculous for the opening act. Like I don't know who is the opening act for Matt Rife, but no one's there to see them. They're all there to see Matt. Or Theo Vaughn, and Theo always has funny openers. Ari Manis is one of his usual openers, but no one's there to see him. They don't want to see Theo. You could literally have a broomstick be the opening act. I mean, comedy on the road, it really depends on the gig. So let me see. It's better being a one-hit wonder than 100%. Like people make fun of, say, Tommy Two-Tone, who sang that song 8675309. There's 1,000 artists who had no hits who would love to have sang that song. He probably still gets paid for that. I think I heard it in a commercial the other day. So, everyone's different. Some people love doing the road as an opener. Because, as soon as you're done, you can go out and chase pussy. And, it's funny, like most people would think selling the merch after the show is a bummer, but that's when you meet the girls. Oh, you were really funny. Oh, thank you. Would you like a large or extra large? Yeah. It's all about the publishing. All about the publishing. So that's the one thing I like about Lemmy from Motorhead is he wrote all the songs and he didn't have to, but he split the publishing with the drummer and the guitar player just so there'd be no problems in the band. Which is the big problem with, of course, I'm a big Vinnie Vincent fan, but Gene and Paul got the publishing, even though Vinnie wrote 8 of the 10 songs on Lick It Up. So Vinnie was like, what the fuck? And Gene and Paul were like, hey, this is our band, bro. We can get anyone to play guitar. See you. So, but there's ways to, does Chad, I don't know, to be honest with you. I've never done the road with him. So, it'd probably be a funnier answer if I said no, he didn't, or whatever, but I've never done a road gig with Chad. So, I'm not sure. I mean, if you do well, it's pretty hard to not, do well with girls and stand up. Oh yeah, I mean, Vinny, I think, was making $1,000 a week, so $4,000 a month, and Gene and Paul were probably making who knows how much, because Lick It Up was a big album. I think it sold 2 million records, which for Kiss was huge. Not so much when you consider Def Leppard's Hysteria sold like close to 20 million, and Metallica's I think Black album sold like 20 million plus. Boston's debut album sold like 17, 18 million plus, and who knows what Appetite for Destruction sold, but 2 million for a Kiss record was big, because they were more of a live act, so they didn't really sell big chunks of records. So, you know, Vinny, but, you know, I see Gene and Paul's point as well. Like, hey, bro, you know, we had this band 10 years before you showed up. You weren't there in the beginning when we were broke. Well, I mean, I see both sides of it, you know, and then, you know, so they kick Vinny out, and, you know, then Vinny Vincent gets kicked out of the Vinny Vincent invasion. It's like, what the fuck? That's almost impossible. So at the end of the day, I think Holtzman splits his time now between LA and Austin. So I've only been to. You're right on that. I've only been to Austin once, so. But a lot of LA comics love to go there for a weekend, come back, go back. I mean, there's a lot of comics who fly back and forth week to week. Because, you know, you've got, now I might be wrong on this, you've got the Vulcan Gas Company, you've got the Mothership, you've got the Creek and the Cave, you've got Cap City, and a lot of bar shows. Yeah, the real money was in the box set because he didn't ship them out, that bastard. So Peter Prince. Yeah, that's an LA deep comic cut. I'll go with Peter Prince. Funny story about Peter Prince. For those of you not knowing who Peter Prince is, and I'll assume it's all of you, he was an open mic comic, and one night there was a hot room in LA comedy on Sunday nights at the Knitting Factory in Hollywood, in the small room, and it was a very intimidating room because you had like Nick Swartzen, Ian Bagg, Anthony Clark when he was on that show, and all kinds of, you know, Ralphie May would show up. I mean, it was intimidating to do comedy in front of those comics at my experience level at that time, because, you know, I wasn't that funny yet, and some may say I'm still not. Hello! But one night Peter Prince is bombing, and, you know, the natives were getting restless, and, you know, I'm watching, and I see a hole behind him in the curtain. So I coyly act like I'm leaving. I go behind the stage. I start jacking off, and I put my dick through the hole, because I knew his act, so I knew where the punchlines were coming. So every time I knew a punchline would come, I put my dick through the hole in the curtain, and people were howling, laughing. I mean, he's getting a standing ovation after every joke. Fast forward the next night, on a Monday night, there was an open mic at Ireland's 32 Brewery in Burbank, in the Valley, and he's up. He's doing the same jokes, bombing, dead silence for 15 minutes. And he comes up to me in the back and goes, "Bro, I don't know what happened. Last night the same jokes killed." And I'm like, "Yeah, I don't know, bro." Boing! So, by the way, I'll get the plugs out of the way now, and my plugs are very easy. It's my name, everywhere. Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, Patreon, YouTube. I'm concentrating right now on YouTube and Patreon and Instagram. Twitter, I'm still active on Twitter doing topical jokes that are old after an hour. And, I'm still on Facebook. Well, it was pretty funny. Like, I can't tell you at the Knitting Factory, because it was a very small room, and I think the walls were aluminum or some kind of metal, sheetrock, I don't know what it was. So anytime you got a laugh, it would bounce around the room. So he thought he was ready for a special. By the way, we got 5 more minutes. I'm going to do this for an hour. It's hard to talk. Now I respect Kevin a little more when he does those solo shows for an hour. And Melton, he's next level, doing 2, 3, 4, 5 hour, episodes. There's no way I could go on for another 3 or 4 hours. I am doing a special. Basically, the last year and a half, I've been filming with my 2 friends a documentary on why I don't have a special. I mean, Richie the C, shout out to Richie the C. My favorite Richie the C story, this is for LA Comics only, I guess, is at Ireland's 32 one night. He's bombing, like, really bad. And and that's fine. We all bombed in that room plenty of times, but he just looks out to the crowd and goes, "All right, I guess it's time for the N-word jokes." And he didn't say N-word; he said the word. And there was a huge black guy in the front, and it was just funny to watch Richie squirm. But the black guy was cool. He's like, "All right, let's hear him." So for the past year and a half, I've been filming a documentary with two documentary filmmakers. One of them's also a very funny comic, the great Ryan O'Neal, and he had a friend, Pistol Pete Lazarus, who would hear me on Beach Cops and Danish and O'Neal. And he's like, "I want to do a documentary on this guy." So the special will be, the first part will be the documentary, and then we go right into the special. And I think the beginning of the special, it's already been shot. Let's just say it's an homage to one of my favorite movies. So I hope you guys enjoy it. We've temporarily locked down a location. You know, in my heart, I wanted to do it at the Comedy Store, but there's just been too many specials down there. You know, I think Gerard's done a few there. At least one. Ari Shafir's done one. Whitney just did one there. And Taylor Williamson did one there. You know, Sarah Tiana did one that was very good, called 44. Check it out. So I'll always want to do a special there because it's my home club. But I think you're gonna like the special. We've picked a unique location with an amazing stage. So I hope to do that within the next 2 months, and then hopefully before the end of the year. I mean, there's so much footage from the documentary that it's going to take a while to edit it and see what we want to put in it. But I'm excited, you know. Yes, I think it'll be, because everyone puts out a special and you never really hear about them after, you know, and well, I'll think about that, William. But you know, it sounds gay to say, but I want my special to be special. You know, how many times have you heard a comic say, "My special's out on Amazon," or hell, even a few that were on Netflix, and nobody talks about them? I guarantee you, people will talk about this one. I've taken steps to ensure that the opening 2 minutes of the special, which we've already shot, it's going to weed out people real fast. If you're still watching minute 3, you're an Earl-o-maniac. If you don't like the opening, you'll turn it off in 30 seconds. So, I mean, anything's possible now. I mean, that's the great thing about, you know, yes, who is that? The Big Country bit might make an appearance. For those of you, I'll just do the Big Country bit. You know, if you think about it, I'd love to be the manager for the band Big Country. They were struggling to find a name. Hey, let's call you guys Big Country. They were struggling to find a name for the first album. Let's call it Big Country. They're struggling to find a name for the first single. Let's call it Big Country. No wonder they didn't fucking last. What are you gonna call the second album? Bigger Country? Hello! I'm bombing on my own stream. But if you have any last minute questions, that was back in the day though. That was like Ireland. I remember the first time I did that joke was Ireland's 32. And it's funny, I have that disease that the 80s actress Mary Lou Henner has. Now she has the ultimate form of it, where it's like a supersonic photographic memory. Like if you go up to Mary Lou Henner tomorrow and say, "Hey, what were you doing September 17th, 1983? She could tell you who she was with. She could tell you what she was wearing. She could tell you, what they were wearing, what they talked about. I'm not quite on that level, but I have a very, very good photographic memory. Now, I remember the first time I did that joke at Ireland's 32. I did a follow-up joke with the worst stage name to have in Hollywood is any name where your middle name is Michael. And then I started naming off some of the Michaels. Now I haven't done this joke literally since that night. Think about it. Jan Michael Vincent, Philip Michael Thomas, Chad Michael Murray. You start off great, and then you never work again. Hello! It's an Earl classic. Yes, Cannonball Run. I mean, she was hot. Question, all right, one more question. What do you think about you two doing that show? Thank you, Doug. I mean, listen, it's $1 million a night I hear they're getting. I talk about what I would do to get on the road if the money's right. Who's going to turn down $1 million a night? And that's probably not even counting the merch. So they're probably making, I don't think they're going to sell $1 million in merch, but 1.5 a night. I mean, God bless them. I don't hate on people who make money. I really don't. We're all doing stuff from me to Kevin Brennan to Matt Rife to Dane Cook to whoever. Like, we're doing live streams, we're putting out albums, we're putting out movies, TV shows, so we become popular. I hope this stream goes viral. That's probably not going to happen. But, people share it and like it. Well, I don't think it's about needing the money, William. I just think, like I went to Metallica at SoFi Stadium not the other night, maybe about 3 weeks ago. And my jaw dropped at their merchandise machine. I mean, I don't know if it's Metallica's merch people specifically or just the merch people at SoFi Stadium, but you'd look at them and go, hi, I'd like a Black Album t-shirt in large, and they would just put their hand behind them, and someone, like one of Santa's helpers, would literally just put a large. Like, with that, they didn't even look at each other. They were so into it. Was like watching Joe Montana, not Joe Montana, Joe Montana and Jerry Rice. Like, you didn't even need to look. So, I'll move you, your lawn clean. Okay, done deal. Done deal. So, that is it. I've spoken for an hour and 2 minutes straight. And I'm in West Hollywood. Hello! And by the way, someone said, you're ripping off Jerry Lewis doing the hello. Yeah, I do. I'm paying tribute. Pew! The Ricochet sounds Earl. It's an Earl classic. So I hope you guys are doing well. Dr. Chow, everyone. I think we got 6 people listening. 6 likes. Thank you. Gina, thank you. If you could share this, it helps. You don't have to, but it does help. And Inappropriate Earl will be back next week with NHL player Aaron Volpati. If you're local in LA, I'll be at the Comedy Store Saturday night, closing out the main room. And thank you guys. Earl Skakel over and